pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Welcome to the December 8th Newmarket Planning Board meeting. Diana just mentioned that neither Ted Seeley nor Jane Ford are going to join us tonight. So, Mikhail, I'm going to appoint you to fill in for Jane. With that, I'll do a roll call to see who's here. If you're present, say so, and also whether you have anybody in the room with you. Val Shelton.
Present and alone in the room.
Scott Blackstone.
Present and alone.
You there, Bill? I can see you.
Sorry, I didn't hear your audio.
Mikhail Zahorik.
Present and alone.
Sarah Finch.
Present and alone.
And I'm Eric Bodeman. I am at the town hall, and I am alone.
Tony's here also from town council.
Yep, Tony is here also. I saw her on it, too. Tony?
Present and alone.
Thank you. All right, first on the agenda is public comments. Is there anybody, there's nobody here at the town hall. Is there anybody online that would like to speak? All right, hearing none, I will close the public comment at 7:07. Next is review and approval of the minutes of November 10th. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the Newmarket Planning Board meeting minutes for November 10th, 2020.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Bill Doucette.
Thank you, Bill. Any discussion, comments, editorial remarks? Hearing none, I will do a Val Shelton.
Aye. Approved.
Scott Blackstone.
Scott, you're muted.
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain, I wasn't there last time.
Dana was not there last time either.
Wait, excuse me, Eric? Tony, are you filling it? Are you the town council rep?
She's an
No,
alternate.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
we're just both here.
Oh, Scott. Sorry, Scott. Apologies.
Yeah, no problem.
No, my fault.
Yeah. Hang on a minute. Let me get them up on my screen. Okay, so I have sent out to all of the planning board members, and we also posted online two versions of the flood overlay district for section 32, which is zoning. And we actually have all the changes in one of the versions that shows the specific language that's being changed and replaced with new language. First and foremost, we need to do this so that we can adopt the new federal emergency management agency floodplain maps that we've been patiently waiting for the last 5 years. We finally have them, and we've been told that we need to formally adopt them as part of our ordinance, our floodplain ordinance, in order to incorporate them into it so we can use that as the basis for our floodplain management overlay district. And most of the changes that we have here proposed really are just editorial type changes, updates to data. And I'll just kind of breeze through some of these things also to clarify the permitting requirements for new construction, as well as substantial improvements and manufactured housing. And also there's changes updating the language. It's no longer referred to as a 100-year flood elevation, it is a base flood elevation. Let's see, what one of the other changes is in our surveyors and engineers in the room can better explain this than I, but we are now, all of our elevation data is based on the NAVD, which is the North American, vertical? I'm sorry, datum, which is the 1988 version. Previously, it was the 1927 version, I believe. So that is a change too, that has to be made in order to bring our regulations into compliance with the new minimum floodplain regulations that the state has recommended that we make. There was something else. Oh, one of the big changes in the new maps for Newmarket is we now have a federal regulatory floodway, which is a portion of the special hazard district. And there are new requirements that come into play for any development within those areas, which requires having special engineering done to assure that any encroachments, fill, or new construction will not increase flood levels during the community, during the flood-based discharge. And that's because those are the areas where there's been significant damage, there's a potential risk for damage within those areas. So that's something that is new. The maps themselves, we have them posted in the auditorium this evening. I believe Sue Jordan has put them up on foam cord boards, and they're strategically placed around the auditorium to provide 6-foot distancing for any members of the public who do arrive there this evening to view them. The maps are also available in the town's planning office. We have the set there that's available for review. And our friends at the state and FEMA have actually put together an excellent internet, or has provided internet access to the maps. And that information is in one of the notices that I sent out early on, explaining how the floodplain process, if you will, works. And there is that link in one of the earlier documents that I sent, and I'd be happy to provide that to you if you would like to view that. Also, the opportunity to compare the maps from the old maps, which were adopted in 2005, to what we have currently, or will have starting January 29, 2021. In addition to zoning regulation changes, there are also some changes to the site review regulations and the subdivision regulations, which are fully within the domain of the planning board to review and adopt after the public hearing this evening. Whereby the zoning changes, we will need to forward those to the town council for their review and adoption because they're zoning changes. And they've had their first reading on this on December 2nd, and they will be having a special public hearing on December 16th as part of their regular meeting. And I did make contact with Jennifer Gilbert, who's with the Office of Strategic Initiatives. And she is going to be attending via Zoom the meeting next week at the town council level. And she's very good at all the finer nuances of the floodplain regulations and will be available to answer any specific questions if members of the public have them. Or if planning board members have them, you're all welcome to join us. So I guess that's in a nutshell what is being proposed this evening. And it would be my recommendation that we move forward with this following closure of the public hearing and adopt the site plan and subdivision regulations as presented and forward the zoning regulations to the town council for their consideration and adoption, hopefully at their meeting next Wednesday, which again is December 16th as part of their regular meeting. Having said that, are there any questions that people have at this point that I can help clarify?
So nothing substantive. I do have a recommendation that under D, standards, if you go down to the last sentence in that first paragraph where it states the following standards shall apply to all new construction or substantial improvements within this overlay district, we remove the phrase to all new construction or substantial improvements. That's actually, that is covered under number 3. Past number 3, you have all these other standards that have nothing to do with new construction. That phrase just doesn't belong in that paragraph because it applies to something much more than, that's only one element as to what it applies to. Correct, and then just go through 1 through, I think it's 8 or 9.
I agree, Mr. Chairman, with Val's suggestion, and I did talk with her about it, and it makes a lot of sense. So I would recommend that be incorporated as a change to this draft.
Yes. I hear none. I guess we're, if you don't oppose that, I guess we'll say that we support that.
Yes. Could you do that in form of a motion, Mr. Chairman?
Well, do we want to go through them all at one time and
Sure.
just do one
Sure,
motion
that'd
at
be
the
fine.
end? That's what I
fine.
would
Yep.
prefer to do.
That was the only comment I had, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other comments relative to the proposed changes and Val's proposed amendment? I don't hear anything. I'll ask one more time. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak to this? For the record, there is nobody here at Town Hall. Is there anybody online that would like to speak to this? All right, hearing none, I will close the public hearing at 7:20, and then I will entertain a motion to approve the amendments and the new maps with Val's suggested amendment?
Well, I think Diane's asking for an amendment to the draft, so we make that motion and second it and then move it forward.
Okay,
Yeah, and there's two, the planning board can only recommend, and that will
Yep.
go to the town council.
Yep.
For subdivision and site review, you can approve it and adopt it. I just want to clarify that,
yep, okay.
okay?
Yep, so does anybody want to make a motion to accept Val's proposed amendment?
Well, I'll just make a motion to amend, section or item D by removing the phrase "to all new construction or substantial improvement."
Excellent. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, the motion's
Yes, sir.
made and seconded. So, the vote for this will be to pass this on with a recommendation for approval, because this is the zoning section. Is that,
Correct,
that's correct?
yes.
Okay, is there a motion to recommend to pass this on with our support?
Are you voting on both motions at once or the first motion first?
Oh, I didn't vote on the first motion. I'm sitting here making notes. Yeah, we should vote on the first motion. So is there any discussion on the first motion? Thank you, Val, for straightening me out. All right, hearing none, I'll do a roll call. Scott Blackstone,
Yes, aye.
Bill Doucette,
Aye.
Mikhail Zahor,
Aye.
Sarah Finch,
Aye.
Eric Bodeman, I vote aye. Val Shelton.
Aye.
Okay, the motion for the amendment.
Eric, Jamie is now present.
Oh, I didn't see her.
I came in late. Sorry about that.
No problem. Were you here for that discussion?
No, I missed the beginning half of it, so I'll abstain from this one.
Okay. Okay. All right, so that motion for the amendment passes 6-0. And then we will go to a recommendation to pass this on to the council for approval. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we forward as a recommendation to the town council, section 32-158 floodplain protection overlay district draft as amended for council approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Bill. Is there any discussion on this? All right, hearing none. Roll call vote. Bill Doucette,
Aye.
Stone,
Aye.
Mikhail Zahoric,
Aye.
Sarah Finch,
Aye.
Eric Bodeman, I vote aye. Val Shelton?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes 6-0. Jamie, I'm assuming you didn't hear that whole discussion, so you'll abstain? Is that
Correct.
okay? So that motion passes 6-0. So now we can vote to approve the changes to the subdivision regulations. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second, Bill Doucette.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Take the roll call. Bill Doucette,
Aye.
Scott Blackstone,
Aye.
Mikhail Zahoric,
Aye.
Sarah Finch.
Aye.
Aye, Eric Bodeman, vote aye. Val Shelton.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Diane, is there another section we need to?
Subdivision, site review, and zoning, that's it.
So we didn't do site, so we need to do site review, right?
Site review, that's right.
Is there a motion on site review? Second?
Someone else.
Yeah, I hear you, Bill.
I
I'll
will second that.
Oh,
I'll second that. What the heck? Just to change it up. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will do a roll call. Val Shelton,
Aye.
Bill Doucette,
Aye.
Scott Blackstone,
Aye.
Mikhail Zahorik,
Aye.
Sarah Finch,
Aye.
and Eric Bodwin votes aye. Motion passes unanimously. So Diane, I believe that wraps up that piece of business?
Yes, it does, Mr. Chairman, and I'll forward the recommendation from the planning board to the town council, and so they'll have it for their packets tomorrow at noon.
Great. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Great, thank you all for your assistance with this.
Next on the agenda is 77 Hersey Lane LLC, Walter Cheney / Chinberg Builders, Inc., continuation of a public hearing for an application for an 11-lot open space single-family subdivision with municipal water and sewer services on a 12-acre lot. The lot is located at 77 Hersey Lane, tax map R4, lot 3 in the R2 zone. So before I open it up to the applicant, I see some of their people online. I'd just like to give the board an update. I don't know, most of you probably know we had a TRC meeting last week, at which point we went through a host of comments from our review engineer. Based on those comments, the applicant has made and submitted a revised set of plans. I believe they were submitted on Thursday, the 3rd. Those plans have now been reviewed by our review engineer, Underwood, from Underwood Engineering. I just got comments late this afternoon relative to that last submittal. The hope was that we were going to get this wrapped up in time to go through everything tonight and take a vote on it. I think due to the fact that we just got this, and I really even haven't had a chance to look at all the responses and comments and whatnot, I think the appropriate thing to do tonight would be to let the applicant update the board on the recent changes they've made. I think we can then discuss, and if we choose to vote on the waivers, and hopefully we will be able to schedule a meeting. I think we've discussed December 22nd to have a meeting to review this. And also, there was a letter that came in from the Lamprey River watershed people, which I think impacts, I don't think it impacts our work here, but they've asked the DES to not approve the AOT application, but let's go through that one at a time. So I see Christian Smith was on the Zoom meeting, I guess. Christian, do you want to update the board? Oh, go ahead, Bill. I see your hand up.
I need to sit this one out.
Oh, okay. Okay, so Christian, would you like to just walk the board through the latest set of revisions that have been made and submitted?
Sure. Would you like me to share screen the plan set?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay, so I'll scroll up here a little bit. There were initially some very minor changes made to the recordable sheet based on Underwood's comments. I think they were largely administrative. Similarly, there were some clarifications provided. The easements, we did relocate some drainage and some sewer runs to get as much of that infrastructure into the right-of-way as possible. And that eliminated a lot of easements because there were pipes that crossed some of the resulting lots and things of that nature. This is about the only thing that Underwood seems to have any remaining comments to, was just providing some additional clarification to who is responsible for the pipes, the grading, the common driveways, et cetera, within the remaining easements. And I think that's very easily clarified, and we can move forward on that in fairly short fashion. I don't believe there was anything revised to the topographic plan, aside from a couple of labels that I'm not remembering exactly what, but again.
Sidewalk,
Oh, that's right, that's right. The
Water
offsite
line,
sidewalks
water line.
that were shown and the offsite water line that was provided to us, as well as the other entrance, really what is used more frequently, were added to that. So just those three items on the topographic plan. I believe all that information already existed on the open space plan, so not much in the way of revisions to this sheet. And let's see, that's the utility plan. We'll start with the plan and profile first. So as you can see, well, I'll zoom in a little bit. We're going to lose the bottom of the page, but I think that's fine for the purposes of reviewing this. What we had is this catch basin 2 was down around the throat of the cul-de-sac, and this catch basin was further down into the proposed road. So the pipe that connected those two crossed through a bit of lot 3 and lot 1 that was removed. Catch basin 2 and 1 were relocated based on input from both UEI and Rick Molaski, the road agent. In addition to that, we did some revision grading in through where the transition goes of the proposed Class 5 Hersey Lane back down into the existing gravel road, which will be the remaining Class 6 portion. And I believe the only thing that that Underwood had commented on this is he would just like us to connect the proposed edge of gravel such that it tapers down here. We have added no parking signs, stop signs and street signs. Over in the location of Durrell Drive across the street, we have now proposed a tip down to the crosswalk at that well as the intersection of the Hersey Lane extension and the proposed Class 5 portion right here. Those were also comments from both the road agent and UEI. We had this particular catch basin that sits on lot 7 connecting directly into catch basin 3. There was a suggestion and we honored that to just direct pipe that into the already existing plunge pool. And basically all that does is dislocates the stormwater coming down from these two lots from the part that the municipality will be taking care of and diverts it directly into that plunge pool. I believe that was it on these sheets. And again, we modified the sewer manholes. This particular manhole actually resided on lot 3 in the former iteration. We have now gotten that into the public right-of-way, as well as limited the number of force mains from the buildings out to these manholes to the extent possible. UEI has reviewed all of this and had takes no exception to the revisions that were made. Keep scrolling here. I don't believe anything particularly interesting changed to the pond. And like I mentioned, the run from the lot 4 catch basin into the plunge pool, all the details remain the same. Rick Molaski did request, we had at this location proposed a wood block attached to the galvanized posts. He preferred the black composite block, so that has been corrected. Go down here, there was sorry about that. The prior iteration had the old configuration of a tip down where it basically came into a triangle here, and they suggested that the full ramp and then a flat landing be the way that this gets configured, so that was indeed done. You can see, specific to Rick Molaski's comments, we have now super elevated the entire roadway as opposed to just what was proposed around the cul-de-sac. His feeling is eliminating the culverts along the, well, I'll go back and show you where that is. So basically, effectively eliminating the culverts under these driveways. Everything sheets now down to the catch basins and ultimately into the center of the cul-de-sac where and Rick felt that's going to be a much better fit for just surface water runoff from the road, and he feels he's going to get a lot less hassle from the potential neighbors there concerned about the way water's running through their culverts. Again, all of this was signed off on by UEI, and they took no exception to it. I don't believe any of the water or sewer details were amended. And I do not believe that anything else was changed to the erosion control plan. So with that, I think that pretty much sums up the majority of the changes, if not all of them, that we implemented based on the technical review and the UEI comment letter that came from that.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Do any board members have any questions for Mr. Smith, or I guess just for Mr. Smith at this point?
Eric, I do.
Go ahead, Val.
Christian, on the lots 2, 4, 6, and then the duplex,
Yes.
are you showing drip edges on those buildings? Is that what we're looking at?
Yes, that's exactly what's proposed there, Val.
Okay, so the idea is to try to keep water from those roofs on those sites?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Val. Anybody else? Christian, looking at the comments from Underwood, it seems like you've addressed everything that was brought up at the TRC meeting. They do have, looks like they still have some questions about easements and whatnot. So, you know, my opinion is that, you know, you can set it up and do easements, as many easements or as few as you would like. We just need to ensure that the town's interests are taken care of. So I would just ask you in the next few days to look at those list of, I think he's got 5 or 6 issues there, or questions potentially, to make sure we resolve them with either Diane, or make sure Rick is happy, or whoever the appropriate party is. And then the only other thing I guess is the transition to the 1-lane road on the Class 6. So, I mean, I think you've come a long way. Looks like we are just about there. So, I'll ask one more time. Does any board members have any other questions? Anybody? Questions or comments? Is there anybody from the public that would like to comment? Anybody jumping up to comment? Okay, I guess at this point, Val, correct me if I'm wrong, I think now is the appropriate time to talk about waivers.
Yeah, I would agree. We have, is it 4 waiver requests?
There are 4 waiver requests, correct. Correct.
3.
I think there are actually
302, B4, B5, D5, and 408. The one that's with all of them, the scale.
Yes, yes.
Does the applicant want to just read those into the record?
Sure.
And does it make sense for the board to deal with them one at a time, or all 4? What's your pleasure, Mr. Chair?
I think we should deal with them one at a time, only
Okay.
because they're different topics, and we don't need to, if we get bogged down on one, we don't need to tie up all the other ones in it, if by chance we.
Mr. Chairman, there's 3 waiver requests. There's not 4.
Okay, well,
Diane, I have
I have 4 of them.
Yes, there was a mistake made on, well, let's go through them.
Yeah.
There was one that Christian
Okay.
resent the waiver to me. Let's
Okay.
go through them.
All right, so
That's a good
the
idea.
first waiver request I have is, well, I guess Val asked, do you think it's appropriate for the applicant to read these into the record? Or they're part of the record already, Diane, right?
Yes, they are. And we do have recommendations on them from Robert Saunders that I sent out late this afternoon, and he's recommending they all.
Okay, so I will defer from that, and then I will say that, all right, the first waiver request that I have is to section 4.08, which is the scale Our regulations require 100 feet, which would be illegible on a plan like this. So they're asking for a requirement. Is there any discussion from the board about that? Anybody have any comments or concerns to me? If I don't hear any comments or concerns, I will entertain a motion to approve the waiver request.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second. This is Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. Any further discussion on it? Hearing none, I will take a roll call. Val Shelton,
Aye.
Sarah Finch,
Aye.
Scott Blackstone,
Aye.
Bill Doucette is abstaining, Mikhail Zahorik,
Aye.
Jamie Bruton.
Aye.
I vote aye also. And I think I got everybody. Did I miss anybody? All right. Thank you. On to the next waiver request. I have a request for a waiver to subdivision regulations, section 3.02.B.4, road design standards. The minimum width of the pavement, regulation requires 12 feet. They're asking for a waiver to 11 feet. Is there any discussion on this? Comments, concerns? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve this waiver request.
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
I'll second. This is Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. I'll ask again, any comment, any discussion? Hearing none. Scott Blackstone,
Aye.
Mikhail Zahorik,
Aye.
Eric Barterman, I vote aye. Val Shelton,
Aye.
Sarah Finch.
Aye.
Oh, Jamie, I missed you, didn't I?
Not yet. You got me now. Aye.
Did I miss you on the first one?
You got me on the first one.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
fee configuration, got it.
All righty. The next waiver request I have is a waiver to subdivision regulations, section 3.02B5, road design standards. We respectfully request that the cul-de-sac be allowed to be offset from the center line of the roadway as designed in a P configuration. This is relative to the configuration of the cul-de-sac. Is there any discussion? Anybody have any questions, concerns, comments on that?
Mr. Chairman, if I could speak just very quickly on this one?
You sure can.
Included in this, which is part of that same section, was the waiver to allow the super elevated pavement center of the cul-de-sac, because the regulations specifically state that the pavement should be super elevated away from the center of the cul-de-sac. But in this case, we're using that as essentially a sediment forebay. So I just wanted to make sure that that was included in the conversation with regard to the cul-de-sac.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Okay, is there any discussion? Anybody have any comments, concerns? I believe that in our TRC meeting that Rick was in support of this, Rick Malasky as the DPW director. All right, hearing no comments or questions or concerns, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the waiver as requested by the applicant in their letter dated March 9th, 2020 to section 302B5.
Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. Any discussion? Hearing none. Scott Blackstone,
Aye.
Mikhail Zahorik,
Aye.
Jamie Bruton,
Aye.
Val Shelton,
Aye.
Sarah Finch,
Aye.
and Eric Bodman, I vote aye. That motion passes 6-0. Thank you. And then, so Diane, the fourth one I have is
The slope grades. The slope grades.
Yes, section
Yes,
3.
thank you. I forgot about that one.
That's
Go
fine.
ahead.
That's fine. I'm not good at counting, so I can get confused between 3 and
That's
4.
all right.
So, section 3.02 D5 road design standards. Basically, they're asking to allow a 2-to-1 slope instead of a 3-to-1 slope. And again, this was discussed at the TRC meeting, and there was no issues from Rick Mulaski, the DPW director. So, does any board members have any questions, comments, concerns about this waiver? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve this waiver.
So moved.
Motion's made by Val. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. Any discussion? Hearing none. Scott Blackstone,
Aye.
Mikhail Zahorik,
Aye.
Jamie Bruton,
Aye.
Val Shelton,
Aye.
Sarah Finch, and Eric Bodeman. I vote aye. That motion passes 6-0. So we've approved the waivers that were requested. So I think like I said earlier, the fact that we just got the comments, it looks like everything's in pretty good shape. But I would feel more comfortable if we could schedule a meeting for December 22nd to take up this issue. Hopefully, we'll get the last couple of comments resolved, even though they're things that we could approve with. I'll poll the board. Is the majority of the board going to be available 2 weeks from tonight to have a? I guess I'll go through. The easiest way under this format is for me just to go through. Val Shelton, are you available? Scott Blackstone,
Yes.
Mikhail Zahorik,
Most likely.
Finch,
No, I won't be.
Jamie Bruton.
I will not be either.
I will be available. So
Ted
that.
Seeley said he would, Chairman.
Excuse me.
Ted Seeley
Okay.
said that he would be available for the meeting. Thank you.
Okay. And I think Jane Ford said she would be
And
available
Jane.
also. All right.
Yeah.
So Diane, can we schedule? Does 7 o'clock work for everybody, or this is the only thing on the agenda? If people want to do it earlier, want to do it at 6 or 7. 7's fine, but if somebody wants to do 6, that's fine too. What's the consensus?
Mr. Chairman, did you want to talk about the local?
I do.
community letter?
I do, but I
Okay.
just want to make sure we're going to have a meeting
Fine.
next time first.
Okay,
before we
I just
get
want
out
to
of
make
this.
sure we're not overlooking that,
Nope.
that's all.
No, absolutely. What's the board's pleasure? 7 o'clock. Does that work for everybody? I guess I don't hear any objections. Diane, can we just set it up for 7 o'clock in a second,
We certainly may.
please?
Yes, I'd be happy to.
All righty. So while we're on this topic still, we have one more thing to talk about.
Eric,
Yeah.
before we leave, can we just hear from the applicant if they have any concerns on what Underwood or the board's looking for?
Oh, good point. Christian Smith?
Sorry, I couldn't get to my mute button. No, I don't think so, Val. I mean, I think it's just further clarification. I believe you were at the TRC, and Doucette had gone through and kind of made more specific each of those particular areas on each lot. Who was responsible for the easement, who the easement was granted to. And I think that largely he just wants a little bit more clarification to that. He actually did make a comment that perhaps we hold recording that until construction is complete. I'm not sure if I agree that that's necessary, but obviously that's up to the planning board. And I know that Mr. Kerrigan and Chinburg Properties will also be working through these easements with their attorney. And they will go through the municipal attorney for review and approval. So I don't think we have any questions or concerns with
Okay, so
the UEI's looking for.
I guess I would just request that you get everything to Diane in a timely manner so she can get out to the board members her planner's report and any proposed conditions of approval.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, good point, Val. Diane, do you want to, I guess you probably know more about it. I know we got a
Well-
letter in the last couple of days.
Yeah, and it was a rather negative letter, I thought, surprising from friends over at the Water Advisory Committee. I did want to point out that there was some inaccurate information in the letter. And one of the things that concerned me was the suggestion that we didn't go through an environmental yield process to identify the suitability of various sections of the land area that would be more suitable for development than others. As you know, we did approve a special use permit application for this project last November, and I sent out a copy of that to all the board members today because I wanted to refresh your memory about what the findings of fact were and how the board viewed the project. And clearly, it was consistent with the intent of our conservation and open space subdivision regulations. And there was some disputes about the adjacent, that it wasn't adjacent conservation land that would provide linkages and wildlife corridors. And I believe the applicant in one of his presentations, maybe it was in the report that Mr. Gove and Luke Hurley put together, there was clearly an identification of how this fits together with different parcels, including Durrell Woods, which has, I don't know, 6 or 7 large open space areas that have been conserved for that purpose. So I wanted to point that out, and I just would also, I'd like to have Mr. Hurley, who's here this evening, Luke Hurley, if he could maybe make comment on some of the natural resource and coordination questions that came up regarding the Natural Heritage Bureau and their impacts of the project on various plant resources and animal resources, et cetera, because that's really out of my bailiwick. So anyway, I would like to give them an opportunity to address the letter if they could quickly, so that we can arrest some of these concerns going forward. And if the board would like me to contact the Alteration of Terrain Bureau and let them know that there were some inaccuracies in the letter that should be taken into consideration in their final review of the plans.
Okay, thank you, Diane. Have the board members had a chance to look through that letter? I know it was just we got it yesterday, Diane?
Yeah, it had been, it was one of these things that had was sent out right at before I had lost some time. I didn't get it until Friday. Conservation Commission until this morning, and that's when I said, gee, we want to bring this to everyone's attention so we can discuss it. And I did send it over to Patrick Reynolds, and I think he's here this evening representing the Conservation Commission. So I think now is the time, I think, because we have Luke here to discuss the letter so that we can put some of these concerns to rest.
Yeah, I agree. But also, I think board members need to remember that in this process, we had the applicant pay for us to hire Mark West to do a review. And those of you that don't know Mark West, Mark is, in my opinion, one of the most highly regarded wetlands and wildlife experts around. He does a lot of work for the federal government. So, we did our due diligence, no doubt about that, in my opinion. So, with having said that, is Luke here? I can't see the screen. Great. Do you want to kind of walk us through this, Luke, as best you can?
I can. I think Diane said if we wanted to do it quickly, I can do it quickly.
Yes.
I can.
Quickly is good.
I can drag it out. So I don't know. I don't know how you want me to approach it. I don't know if you really want me to go down through the letter, address some things. Like Diane said, there were some inconsistencies in there. I don't know.
Luke, can I interrupt you for a sec?
Absolutely.
Let me just give you what I think we should do. So at the end of this letter goes through a bunch of things, and at the end it basically asks New Hampshire DES to not approve the AOT permit, right?
Yes, that was item 10, I believe.
Correct. So,
I have the letter here.
so they're not asking us as a planning board to do anything. They're asking the
Right.
state to not approve this. Is that the general process for these type of things? The process will be that with the AOT application filed, now they have their comments and DES will probably have their comments, and it'll be up to you and Christian and whoever else on your team to address their comments?
Yeah, and that's what I can do is really I'll just address item 10
Sure.
in the letter in that, and I'll give you a little background very quickly as to how this all works and what the process is. So the process is when we have an alteration of terrain application that goes up, Christian does this, he calls and says, we need to have the new fish and game report done on the habitat assessment. I say, okay, I'm a qualified biologist with fish and game, I can do them. So I go out and I do it. So what, real quick version of it is what Fish and Game is asking us to do as the biologist and the consultants is to obviously visit the site. I've been on the site many times through different aspects of the project. Do a desktop analysis from the Fish and Game website for various species that would be located per habitat type on site, and lists per town that they have that they put together for the threatened and endangered species. So with that information, I do a little bit of desktop work. I go out in the woods, walk around for an afternoon, full day, make notes, document what I see out there for habitat type. This isn't an individual species survey, so I'm not looking for specifically for spotted turtles or Blanding's turtles or anything like that. But what we're asked to do is we look at the habitat and say, okay, based on this habitat, this is what I think as a professional would be here for threatened and endangered species. It's not the full list of 30 species that they come up with for Appalachian oak forest or hemlock hardwood pine. It's just a select few that would really be out there, because things like bald eagles they list wouldn't be out there. Moose, unlikely. So it's just going down through the list. So what I did in that report that I don't know if you all got a copy of it, 30, 40 page report that went in with the AOT application, goes through all of this, and it documents all the species that would potentially be out there based on the habitat type. The habitat type they require, why I think they'd be out there, and then with the project description of what's being proposed out there, I speculate as to what the impacts to those individual species would be, and then put in conservation measures that we work with the applicant and the engineer in Fish and Game to say, okay, here's what we're proposing for conservation measures, is what they actually ask for. So with that, that's really how the process goes. And ultimately, Fish and Game reads my report. They, I don't want to say agree or disagree, but they'll agree with some of the measures. They may ask for a little bit more. We may discuss a few things back and forth, but then ultimately what'll happen, and I just got one today, was they will typically agree after this coordination back and forth, and erosion control, we're protecting a lot of open space on this, and I can get into that. A couple other measures, and they'll say we have no further comments, and with that goes back to alteration of terrain. They say you have satisfied Fish and Game's requirement under whatever it is, ENVWQ 150309H, I think it is, the new AOT rule. And then AOT issues the permit. So that's the very quick background on it. And just as far as item 10 goes, I did document in the report in a couple places. It's somewhat redundant. That's not me. That's a template I came up with. But I note the conservation measures that we're putting in place. That's with 9 acres of the 12.8 acre site is being put into open space. There is direct connectivity between that open space and the land to the south and to the west. The prime wetland is keeping over 150-foot buffer along it, so that's a good wildlife corridor. Critters like to travel along wetland edges. So down back, that's ideal for them to have that still buffer even more than the 100 feet that the state requires for their prime wetlands, but it's 150 that I think we're giving plus or minus. So there is direct connectivity down along the bottom. I note that as well as potential species that could be there, and the fact that there's always displacement when there's development. We know that, but the way this site is being developed, it's as I was saying to some of the others earlier, it's kind of like in the developer's worst place because it's up on the rocky ledge place where it's, not the easiest to do the development. But the ideal habitat down in the back with connectivity to the other conservation parcels, as well as the prime wetland, that's all being maintained. So critters are going to get displaced. They get displaced every time there's development, but they have places to go on this site to the back of the land and direct connectivity to the other conservation parcels that are around too. So, yeah. So as far as I do agree that it is ecologically sensitive, but we are giving connectivity for the conservation parcels. So what I do in my report is I make recommendations based on what the project is proposing, and then Fish and Game is going to act on those and then tell AOT that they're okay with it, or as I say, we work back and forth. So I don't think AOT would deny this because of any wildlife issues. They're not gonna review, alteration of terrain isn't going to review the wildlife aspect of it. Fish and Game reviews that for them. I've talked to Ridgemock and he says, I'm no biologist. I don't know what these reports even mean. But that's when he relies on Fish and Game to look at the material. They make decisions as to if we're actually impacting or preserving wildlife habitat. And then they follow through with that and give recommendations to AOT that they've been satisfied. So it's kind of the long run-on version of it, but that's the process that we go through.
Thank you, Luke. I think that kind of explains the process.
Yeah.
I understand a lot better now. Any board members have any questions for Luke while he's warmed up and ready to go? No? Okay. You mentioned that there was somebody from the Concom on the line. I can't see the screen very well.
Patrick Reynolds is here.
Okay.
Perhaps we could unmute him. Patrick, do you have anything any questions or things you wanted to add to the discussion?
Well, this still has to come before us to get a permit, right?
Not a wetlands permit.
No. I thought for the subdivision exception. No?
That was already approved. The special use permit was approved. And no, it does not have to get any.
Right.
Okay, then I mean,
Conservation Commission.
there's nothing really, I would say that normally if we received a letter like this and there was a pending permit before us, we would expect that the applicant would respond to, I think, the questions that LRAC have raised. I don't know, I'm not making any judgment on accuracy or non-accuracy of those comments, but it would certainly, if it was coming before us, that's what I would be looking for, is what are their responses. Luke just provided this board some of those responses. So, I mean, the only concern I would have would be around the concern. And, I think the reason the LRAC has probably sent you such a strongly worded letter is that there is not a lot of development that's this close to the Picassack River, which is a Class A stream that runs through Newmarket. So they're probably rather sensitive about development that occurs within that corridor because, relatively speaking, it's highly pristine for this part of New Hampshire. Water quality's high, and it doesn't have a lot of development that's in close proximity to it. So that may be some of the pushback that you're getting from them in this letter.
Yep. Thank you, Patrick. Patrick, just so you understand our process is, if we were to vote to approve this project, it would be subject, obviously, to obtaining the AOT permit. So the applicant will have to address all of those issues with New Hampshire Fish and Game, the AOT people. All those comments will have to be addressed one way or another.
I don't know. I recall seeing this plan before, and I wasn't sure if there was a public access contingent open space. Usually with open space, there isn't necessarily, that isn't usually part of the plan. But with the 11-foot road that you've got in there with no parking, you certainly don't have any, I mean, your public is really barred from going in there, right? Because they basically can't park on the road to walk down there if there was public access. So I don't know if that's part of the plan or not, but you're certainly, the message is public, you're not welcome. Right? Because there's no parking, there's no way to get down there.
Go ahead, Val.
But it still is
Yeah.
a class 6 road. It's a town-owned road.
Val.
Right.
Oh,
I'm going to comment on that. So Patrick, that came up in the TRC meeting. It was Public Works Director wanted to have the no parking there because of really several issues, most of which to do with snow removal, as well as if they do need access, because it is a town road. It's a class 6
Right, if you
road.
yeah, if you have an 11-foot road, you can't have parking on it
Yeah,
because
and Public
the
Works
fire
is
trucks can't pass.
correct. So they don't want any parking on that road.
Right.
Now,
That's
but
what
we
I'm
are
saying.
making it, but we definitely, the issue came up about access for the public to be walking down that road and to making sure that it wasn't a off of the paved portion to continue down the unmaintained class 6. There was a lot of discussion about that, and the applicant was agreeable to make sure that that was mitigated. So I think you'll have a lot of public access to that road, even more so from the neighborhood, you know, with
From the
up in
neighborhood,
that,
right.
that Hershey Lane area. And there's a lot of people that live up there.
Right. And I don't know if they're accessing it currently because obviously there's no development there. So if people are coming down to that area to go to the river, to fish or whatever, just to go down there, and if they can't go down there anymore, then that would be an issue. But I don't know what the plan is regarding that.
Yeah, you're actually not getting to the river there. You're getting out to the other end of Hershey Lane comes over to Grant Road before the river.
Yeah,
Right. So there's no access through the actual subdivision to
Right.
that open
It's
space.
just a
That's what I
nice,
meant.
it's a nice road in the woods, you know,
Yeah.
pathway in the woods.
There's a woods road
Right.
there.
I'm familiar with the path in the woods. Yes.
Well, what we did really spend a lot of time on that at TRC, and the limitation on this parking and putting up signs was at the direction of the Public Works Director.
Well, again, with an 11-foot road, I don't think you have any choice but to do that. You have to do that. It's a safety issue.
But Patrick, I think you and Val are talking two different things. You're talking, I think, about the new proposed roadway in the subdivision. I think Val is talking about where it intersects with the existing Class 6 road that's going to be upgraded. Rick Malasky asked the applicant to basically not make it so people can park there because they would block this Class 6 road, which apparently people do now, and they would have to have those towed in case they need to get down there in an emergency. So you're right, the existing roadway does not make, the proposed 22-foot wide roadway does not lend itself to a lot of public access. Is that right, Val?
Correct. Yeah, my comments more were relative to the Conservation Commission's input when we were doing the decision by the special use permit to allow the open space. We just thought the open space was the only way to have this land developed and to be able to protect all the natural resources, or as many as we could, that we wouldn't have done under a conventional plan.
I agree completely with that.
Great.
Thank you, Patrick. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's it. That's it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks,
and then-
Patrick.
and because it's not often we get to have, him here, is anything that, and I think Sarah, you're still our designee to Concom.
Yeah.
Anything the planning board can do in relationship to our communications with the Conservation Commission on the process of our involvement of approval of plans and special use permits, let us know.
And Patrick, I have sent plans out to you, and I've invited you to all of our TRC meetings. And I know we all have busy work schedules and so forth, but maybe one of your board members could take on, an assignment and be the TRC liaison. I know Sarah has a full-time job and can't meet during the day, and we recognize that. But yeah, we'd like to have this kind of input early on in the process. And that was the other thing is, this has been in the works now for 18 months, and it was kind of an eye-opener to get this at the 11th hour, this letter and a lot of those issues had already been addressed in our process. So anyway, be that as it may, please, we encourage and welcome input from the Conservation Commission, and we'd love to have you join us for the TRC meetings, because that's where we make a lot of these decisions and hear from other departments for their input.
Diane,
And thank you for coming on short notice.
yes,
You're welcome.
Thank you, Patrick. And Diane, my understanding is that the reason it came at a late date was they don't get notified until the AOT permit gets filed. That's why.
Yeah, well, and that's unfortunate, but
I'm sorry, Diane, who is our representative on LRAC for the town?
used to be Michelle Daly. I don't know if representative. The names on the letter were not familiar to me. So, and let's see, who else? Nancy Lambert, but I think she's the Dover, one of the Dover representatives. So,
Okay.
Patrick, do you have any information on that?
I
No?
don't have the current list of the membership there. No, I know Joe Foley's the chair. I
He's
don't
the
know.
chairman, yeah. But
Yeah,
he's from Epping, is that correct? Anyway.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I don't know where he's from.
Very good.
Okay.
Anyway, we
Joe Foley
thank
is from
you for
Epping.
coming tonight.
Yes, thank you, Patrick.
Thanks, Patrick.
Does anybody have anything else why we have the applicant still on the line? If nobody has anything else, I would entertain a motion for continuance to December 22nd.
Mr. Chairman, could I just make one final point on the LRAC
Sure.
input? We are compelled to notify them when we happen to be in their corridors with the alteration of terrain permits. But, you know, I just need everybody to know that they are an advisory committee. I mean, that is it. So how this goes is we will indeed, and I guess Patrick's already signed off, but we will indeed provide a response to their commentary, which will largely come out of Gove Environmental Services, because again, I don't have the credentials to address much of that, but we will send that out to alteration of terrain. We will send that back to the town with our response to any alteration of terrain permit comments. And then ultimately it comes down to Gove Environmental dealing with Fish and Game, because as Luke mentioned, Fish and Game is the entity, the agency that is going to give alteration of terrain their marching orders specific to, yes, we feel that, you know, the habitat is protected by this project. And as Luke said, they may require some additional protections or some additional things to be done that they feel are warranted based on the development. But yeah, we will respond to LRAC directly. The town will get a copy of that. AOT gets a copy of that. And, you know, again, Luke will work with Fish and Game to ideas they may have that they feel are necessary for the project.
Good. Okay.
Thank you, Christian.
And thank you, Luke, for coming as well. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay, does anybody have any other questions or comments why Luke and Christian are still on the line? I'll go back to, is there a motion to continue to December 22nd at 7 p.m.?
So moved.
Thank you, Val. Is there a second?
Who is that?
I heard something. I couldn't understand it.
Was that you, Jamie? No?
Well, you know what? For the sake of
We need
speed,
a second.
I will second it. I will second it.
Okay.
Is there any discussion? Roll call vote to continue to December 22nd at 7 p.m. Sarah Finch,
Aye.
Scott Blackstone,
Aye.
Mikhail Zahorik,
Aye.
Jamie Bruton,
Aye.
Val Shelton,
Aye.
Bottom and I vote aye. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. We will see everybody for this on the 22nd.
Thanks very much,
Thank-
guys.
Thank you,
Have a
Christian
good
and
night.
Luke.
Yeah.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Does anybody have any,
Thanks.
Diane, we need to talk about the impact fee ordinance.
Yes, yes. Very quickly, I sent out a memo this afternoon. Again, I apologize for the late moment that we got it to you, but we did hear back from John Radigan, who of course is our town attorney. And I sent an email to him, kind of giving him some background and explaining the planning board's interest in doing away with water and sewer impact fees and having the town institute a system of system development charges as an alternative, which would provide greater flexibility, and the water and sewer department would have further or more control over the process. So in going through this, Val and I stepped to the plate and we said, we'll come up with some language so we can move this to the town council for zoning change. And when I finally got into looking at our zoning ordinance recently, I found that the zoning ordinance on impact fees is very general. It's a generic ordinance, and it doesn't really stipulate what type of fees the town needs or can have, et cetera. So it really, because it's so general, it doesn't require a zoning change per se, which is a process that actually needs to go from the planning board with a recommendation to the town council and a public hearing and 2 readings and so forth. So anyway, I brought this to John's attention and asked and kind of outlined what we had in mind in way of kind of bringing this to the town council. And he had some suggestions on how we might do this. And really it's pretty simple, and it's stated right in the ordinance that any proposal for change in the impact fee assessment methodology or the fee schedule, which water and sewer impact fees are under the fee schedule, shall be submitted to the town council for its review and comment and final consideration of the changes proposed by the planning board. And that's basically it. So, we were thinking this was a laborious process, if you will, but I think what's we probably should do is send a letter from the chairman, perhaps like we did last time, to the town council with a recommendation for adopting system development charges in lieu of water and sewer impact fees, and asking for their input. And we would probably want to have a public hearing on this before doing so, and then forward it to them. And basically it would be in the hands of the town administrator, or the town administration, I should say, and the water and sewer department to come up with the new system of fee charges and do the analysis that's necessary to provide the basis for it. And then at the time that it's everything has come together and there's a system in place, then it could be simply handled by a resolution from the town council, and using whatever method they use normally for increasing water and sewer user charges, because that's the statute under which this would come. Does that make sense? And I just wanted to make sure that I'm not oversimplifying this, but I think it could be handled very, very simply with just a letter from after a board. And it'd be nice if we could do this evening, because we've talked about it for so long now, so that we can get this on their docket and schedule it for a public hearing, probably sometime in January. Are there any questions on that?
I think that's very concise, Diane. That's a
Okay.
much better approach than I thought we'd have to take. I'll open up to the board. What's the board's thoughts on, I guess, authorizing a letter to be sent to the council? Basically, I understand, previous discussions, we're okay with doing away with water and sewer. impact fees and basically having the town set them up as a development fee, correct? What's the board members think?
Development fee equals connection fee?
No,
Um,
no.
I'm not sure how if they're the same thing, their fees, user fees, for, developing the water or wastewater system.
Yeah, I think Diane, I think what Bill's referring to in that document earlier today, it said, connection fees. I don't think it's a connection fee. I think it's a system
No,
development
no.
fee.
It's in addition to the connection fee.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because they charge, I think, $1,000 for
Yes.
a water and sewer connection,
Yep.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Did that answer your question, Bill?
Yes.
Anybody else have any questions, comments, thoughts? What's everybody's thoughts on this? Are we prepared to, I guess, authorize Diane to write a letter on behalf of me to the council?
Yeah. We have, here's my thought, because we've been talking about this for years now and have been before the several councils in regards to it. I would like to propose to make a motion that we formalize this, to instruct the chair of the planning board in conjunction with the town planner to draft an actual resolution from the planning board to the Newmarket Town Council, recommending that the town's water and sewer impact fees be rescinded and replaced with water and sewer system development charges, based on the board's investigation and position that the change in methodology will provide the town with much more flexibility in dealing with the capital costs of the water and sewer system for those who seek to connect to the system. The process to complete the same and modify the existing ordinance as recommended by the town planner and town's legal counsel is to be incorporated into the resolution to be signed by the chair.
I'll second that.
Chair of the planning board.
Correct.
Is there a second to Val's motion?
Bill seconded.
Oh, I just heard that. Jeez. Sorry, Bill. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call. Scott Blackstone,
Aye.
Mikhail Zahorik,
Aye.
Sarah Finch,
Aye.
Jamie Bruton,
Aye.
Bill Doucette,
Aye.
Val Shelton,
Aye.
and Eric Bodman, I vote aye. The motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. We can finally get that off our plate, we hope.
Just to not leave the discussion, we might want to set a date in the future that we are going to take up a public hearing to modify our assessment of the water and sewer. Basically, we're going to zero that out.
Yep.
So that the council prioritizes this.
So do you want to set it up for our meeting in January?
No, that's too
Too
quick.
soon?
They
That's
have to
too
have,
soon?
because we have to have public
We should have-
hearings.
We should have our public hearing, the planning
Right.
board needs to have a public hearing. So
Right.
let's set it up for a public hearing in January, and then we can forward it to the town council at that point. Tony, it's my understanding that the council is very interested in moving this forward fairly quickly, so hopefully that will meet your time frame if we get a recommendation by January. Doesn't mean work can't start on it, it's just, procedurally, I know that there was interest in maybe, since it's been on the docket for so long, an interest in finishing up in this year, before the new council comes on board. And I guess there's 4 new members that are possibly going to be joining us in that capacity.
Yeah, if I can, I think that, obviously, our process, and we have to have an initial reading and then the second reading. And if the planning board, if I'm understanding correctly, would want to hold a public hearing prior to that, is that correct?
We're required to hold a public hearing prior to us changing the, and again, we're not changing the ordinance, we're changing the methodology and the fee, if you will. That's the only authority we have. So basically, we would be modifying the fee structure. And what the town doesn't want to happen is we zero out the water and sewer impact fees prior to you as the council adopting the system development charges.
Okay,
Because
so
you're
we would adopt the changes first and then you would do, just so I
That-
understand the process.
Correct, but if we
Okay.
have to keep waiting for the
Right.
next council,
Right.
we're gonna be right where we are, 6 months from now as we were 6 years, ago.
Right.
That's really more the point.
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, it sounds like, Steve will have some work to do before he can put this before the council. So as soon as we can make that happen, I can't imagine it would, I mean, this has been on his radar, so I can't imagine that it would be too lengthy of a process.
So as far as I think from our schedule, we would hope that the council would take care of it within say a 60-day period. And then Eric, maybe it makes sense for us to have it on, our agenda for like March.
Yeah, I think at this point, we should wait, we'd be prepared, but as soon as the council does approve it, the next meeting we have enough time to publicly notice it and everything, we should do it immediately thereafter. Yeah?
I just think January's a little aggressive.
Yes, yeah, understood.
It's the end of January, the 26th. Okay,
That's fine, okay,
but that's just for our piece. That's not for the council's piece
Right.
necessarily.
right, understood.
Right.
Okay,
But our piece basically zeroes it out.
right. And we don't want to zero it out till there's another,
No, there's something to replace it. I
Correct.
agree with you.
correct,
Okay,
correct.
thank you.
Okay, thank you, Diane. Thank you, Val, for all your work on that again. Hopefully that's the last time we'll have to say that. All right, so onward to
Adjourn.
Chairman's report. I have nothing to report, other than there's nobody here at City Hall, Town Hall, but me. Committee reports, anybody have a committee report? Hearing none. Planners report? No?
No.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Hello?
I'm motioned out.
Take it once.
Val, you can only make 10 motions in a night.
I know, I'm
You've set your
motioned
limit.
A motion to adjourn.
Excellent. Motion's made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Great. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Anybody want to hang around and talk for a while, not adjourn? I'll do a roll call. Val Shelton,
Aye.
Bill Doucette,
Aye.
Scott Blackstone,
Aye.
Mikhail Zahorik,
Aye.
Sarah Finch,
Aye.
Aye.
and Eric Bodman. I say aye. Motion passes. We're adjourning. Thank you all very much. We will see you
Happy
in.
holiday to those who we won't see on the 22nd.
Correct.
We'll see you I'll see you on the 22nd.
Bye now.
Excellent. Take care.
Bye now.
Thank you.